Okay, Jeff, we're on our way today to see Utica Square.
Hey, all right.
But we're going to be passing by Cassia Hall. You want to turn in and take a quick look? Cassia Hall has really grown quite a bit and expanded with a performing arts center, etc. There it is. This is the original side of Cassia Hall. And as far as I know, I've asked certain people if there were any Jewish boys who went there, because remember, in our days, Cassia Hall was a boys' school. Now it's a co-ed school. And as far as I know, there are only 3 Jewish boys that we can think of who attended Cassia Hall. Jerry Sokol, Dick Storch, and possibly Bob Travis. Okay, now we're still in Cassia Hall, and of course you can see all the wonderful houses that still remain in this part of Tulsa.
Now I'm heading out.
Okay, now we're on our way to Utica Square. And I want to tell you a few interesting things about Utica Square before we get there. Utica Square was opened on May 22nd, 1952, on 30 acres of land, and it housed only 4 buildings. It was the first suburban shopping center in Tulsa, and lots of people were worried that suburban shopping centers would take away shoppers from downtown, where shopping had been the central thing. In 1964, Helmerich and Payne purchased the square, which had increased to 12 buildings. And one of the first things Mr. Helmerich did was to plant 300 trees in Utica Square. Okay, here's another detour. Guess where we are now? Temple Israel parking lot and play area for the preschool, and the new charging stations for the electric cars. So we're going to go through the back area of Temple Israel. Beautiful landscaping still here, even though the trees haven't started to blossom yet. The reserved parking places for the clergy. And when you turn right here, you're going to see those monumental, oh, can you see them?
The doors?
Doors that still weigh about 100 pounds each, that take you inside where the sanctuary and the auditorium and so on. This is the preschool. Here we are, the building that was built to house the preschool. It's quite nice. And over on the side here, people won't remember this, but one of our builders here in Tulsa has built a 4 or 5 story penthouse next door to the temple. Okay, we're at Utica Square, or at least we're across the street, so we're going to go into it.
Do you have something else to say about Utica Square before we head out?
Well, let's go through, and I'll just give you some more little tips about Utica Square. We're entering probably one of the original areas. Yes, and one of the interesting, here's the front of Temple Israel. Let's not forget to show everyone what Temple Israel looks like from the front. Gosh, we spent a lot of time in that auditorium doing shows and taking pictures in the lobby. The famous 10 Commandments on the front. And once again, the land here on the side. One of the most original things about the Utica Square, though, Jeff, was the fact that in those early days, they actually buried all the utility lines underground.
No kidding?
Yeah, and that was something very different. Downtown stores like Renberg's, Vandiver's, and Clark's really did move to Utica Square. And John A. Brown was converted from the John A. Brown store to Dillard's. This is what would be the east side, and let me just say we're passing, I didn't get it all, but Montecasino and this very tall high-rise that was built here years ago and is quite a nice high-rise building for apartments.
I'm going to pull in right here.
Okay, originally in Utica Square, there was Humpty Dumpty Supermarket, TG&Y, C.R. Anthony's, and Oklahoma Tire and Supply, which we called Otasco. And we're coming up here on the area which housed the original Utica Utica Bowl. And Utica Bowl was a great place for teens. We're going to pass by here, and the sad thing we're going to see is that even the bowling alley, which burned down in 1963, was replaced by Miss Jackson's. And now this wall, this fence, is replacing Miss Jackson's, Petty's, and all the stores that were on this side, and nothing has yet been publicly, at least, announced to take its place. Over here is P.F. Chang's, great restaurant that a lot of people go to. Of course, not originally here. What did we know about Asian foods in the 1960s? Okay, the fear that that downtown would sort of close down with the opening of suburban shopping centers like Utica Square, like Tulsa Promenade, like South Roads at 41st and Yale, actually did take place. And pretty much downtown closed down for quite a few years. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about Danner's Cafeteria as we're going through. Let's just take some little pictures here, the shots of the various stores that are now in Utica Square. On this side, one of my favorites, Talbot's. Mm-hmm. We have Banana Republic, and one of the anchors that we're coming up to in front of us is Saks Fifth Avenue. There's also Pottery Barn. We're passing Pottery Barn. All of this used to be what we spent a lot of time shopping in, Renberg's. And Renberg's actually closed in, I think, 1998. This is Saks Fifth Avenue, if you can see through the trees, and J. Jill. And now we're turning down. Here's some restaurants and other shops in Utica Square. Keep our eyes out for anything that looks familiar, although most of these stores are new from the 60s. Okay, I'm going to tell you something about Danner's Cafeteria. Two interesting stories. In April 1960, the 900 members of the 912 Club, which were mostly women, who were playing bingo in Danner's Cafeteria, were raided by the Vice Squad. The women were shocked. They couldn't believe that this was happening, and the Vice Squad collected $716. They also detained 5 people who they accused of holding an illegal lottery. Here we see, you want to turn down here?
Sure. Heading here.
We want to just show, next to Walgreens, what many of us remember as Brouse's Shoe Store. Which, when Brouse's closed, Marmee moved in to that spot. We also have some other shops that people will recognize, some national names, restaurants, of course. And one of the things that the Helmrichs always wanted for Utica Square was at least 30% of the stores to be locally owned. And quite a few are locally owned. And that, can you see that? Oh, that red little building there is supposed to look like a phone booth. Okay, we have coming in will be Bath and Body Works and White Barn, taking the place of Queenie's. Now, Queenie's wasn't here in the 60s, but Queenie's has become a very big deal, and they moved to a wonderful spot in Utica Square. They're still here in Utica Square. My second story that I'm going to tell you about Danner's took place in in September 1968, and it was the focus of another vice raid. In this case, people saw 2 men dressed in white, restaurant gear, wearing white chef's hats and pushing what looked like the 500-pound safe from the cafeteria. Well, of course, it was only painted to look like that, but the vice squad arrested them anyway. And we're coming up to the part of Utica Square which actually housed Danner's cafeteria. It's right down here, just a little bit further, where Olive Garden is. Here we're going past, and here we are at the corner where Olive Garden was. Danner's actually closed down in 1971. They were replaced by First Cafeteria. And everybody remembers the notorious Salad Lady. When you entered the line at the cafeteria, the first person that you met was the Salad Lady. Can you give us a vocalization of the Salad Ladies?
I've been working on it all week.
What is it?
Salad? You want some salad? It's no salad today?
Yes, sounds a lot like her. You couldn't understand a word she said. Over here on this side, we're seeing some other newer stores here that weren't here before. Williams-Sonoma, Hicks Brunson. Actually, has been here a long time. New Balance, and on the corner, the post office, which basically is still very small, gets a whole lot of traffic.
Probably hasn't been remodeled since the late 60s.
I agree. It's quite interesting to go inside there. Now, there was a building over here. We're looking at the space, it's the fence here, that housed some other offices. Down here a little bit further, I think, some other offices also. And those offices are gone these days. So when you are over here, across from the temple, this is what your view is of Temple Israel from Utica Square. Can you move down just a little further so we can see?
Yeah.
I want to show everybody once again the front of the Temple Israel building. And that's our tour of Utica Square.
It's pretty good. I'm going to wait for this speeder here.
Oh yeah, a lot of speeding in this neighborhood, huh? Okay. If anybody watching this video has some great memories and stories about Utica Square, please send them to our group or post them on our Facebook page or email them to one of us, because we would love to hear some more stories about Utica Square, the first suburban shopping center in Tulsa. See you later. We'll take another tour. Bye-bye.